On the Seder night, we have an obligation to eat matzah mid'oraisa, according to the Torah. The Pasuk says, Ba'erev tochlu matzos, that when it comes to the night of the Seder, one is obligated to eat matzah. And so, the type of matzah that we use for the Seder night is shmura matzah. The Shulchan Aruch tells us that we should have matzah which has been guarded, shmura, mishas katsira, from the time it was cut down, from the time the wheat was cut, all through the process of the wheat becoming into flour, to make sure that from the time it was cut until it becomes into flour, until the time that's eventually made into matzah, that it never became wet. Because if wheat or flour becomes wet, then it could possibly become chametz. The process of chimutz takes place over once something is past roughly 18 minutes. So until the time that the flour is mixed with the water in order to be made into matzah, once it actually touches water, until it comes out of the oven as matzah, has to take less than 18 minutes. If one has ever visited a matzah factory, one observes that the entire process from when the flour is mixed with the water until the matzah comes out of the oven is 18 minutes or less. In most matzah bakeries, it's less than 18 minutes. So we use the shemura matzah on the night of the Seder because we want to do a hidur. We want to do the mitzvah which is biblically obligated in the most beautiful way possible. Now, if one wants to eat matzah the rest of Pesach, there are some that have the custom to eat shmura matzah the rest of Pesach, but others who don't eat shmura matzah the entire time, they eat regular matzah. Shmura matzah is reserved for the Seder night for those because it's a hidur, it's the most beautiful way in performing the mitzvah. So we reserve the most beautiful way of performing the mitzvah for a time that is biblically obligated, and that is the Leil HaSeder. There was once a chassid who came to his Rebbe, Rav Yitzchak of Nishetz, and he said to his Rebbe, or he looked to his Rebbe, and he appeared to him as being very sad, very despondent. And it was right before Yom Tov. And the Rebbe said to him, "Why do you look so sad? Pesach is coming. Pesach is a celebration of freedom. We're supposed to act as if we were just let out as slaves. And we're supposed to be b'simcha. We're supposed to be happy on Pesach." So the chassid said to the Rebbe, I had flour, which was shmura flour. I was ready to make matzahs with. And unfortunately, the shmura flour had some water spilled on it, and it became chametz. And now I don't have shmura flour to make shmura matzahs for the Seder. So the Rebbe looked at him, and the Rebbe said, "Look, shmura matzah is a hidur. It's the most beautiful way to do the mitzvah. But you can still fulfill the mitzvah in other ways. You can still fulfill the mitzvah with regular flour, with regular matzahs in general. It's just not the best way possible. Of course you want to do things the best way, but if you can't, you can't. But there's another mitzvah that you also have to fulfill. And that's the mitzvah of being besimcha, of being happy when it comes to your holiday, when it comes to the Yom Tov of Pesach. Here, because you weren't able to fulfill a hidur, a stringency, you're going to lose out on the other mitzvah of simcha. That's not permissible. And so the chassid was told by his Rebbe that he had to be besimcha even with his regular matzah. And of course, chassid listens to his Rebbe, and the chassid proceeded to try to change his attitude, to change his appearance, and be more happy. When it comes to buying matzah, for us, most of us don't bake matzahs. For us, buying matzah is relatively simple. Costly, yet simple. We go to a store, we go to a matzah factory, and we buy matzah. For us, buying of products for Pesach is also relatively simple. Costly again, but yet relatively simple. The stress and the tension involved, for us, the challenge is making Pesach, doing all the cleaning for Pesach, doing all the cooking for Pesach, all the preparations and koshering that needs to be done. That's where the real tension arrives. And what tends to happen, is that we're preparing so much over the course of this week and the beginning of next week that come Monday night, we're sitting at the table, we're ready to be b'nei chorin, we're ready to be free people, and we're absolutely exhausted. We're tired beyond belief, and we can't appreciate the sense of simcha, the sense of joy that we're supposed to have on the Seder night, because we've put all of our energy into making Pesach perhaps just a little bit beyond what we needed to do. So it's very important for us to remember to rest. It's very important for us to remember to keep things in perspective as far as how we go to extreme when cleaning. And it's important for us to remember that the essence of this Yom Tov is to be besimcha, to be happy, to feel as if we are b'nei chorin, to feel as if we are no longer slaves, we are free people on our own individual levels, and to ensure that the Yom Tov of Pesach allows us to really feel a sense of closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Don't sweat the extreme. That's a hidur. Keep what we're obligated to keep. And remember that simcha, being happy, is the most important mitzvah. Thank you for listening. Chag Kasher V'Sameach.